everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome. You can see there's an amazing panel here. And tonight we have a live stream called Medics in Preparedness. It's a panel of folks that are either currently working in a professional capacity as a medic or they have in the past. So thank you, Angry Prepper, Bush Doctor Survival, Michelle Mitten Prepper Veteran, Our Tent Life, and Texas Surplus Pro for being here, and also all the amazing people in chat. I've been looking at the comments. I was laughing at the one from Ken. I see Cold War Prepper and Uncle Al, Angry Homesteader, all sorts of wonderful folks are there. So without further ado, let's get started. And we will actually just start with just talking a little bit about our channels. I'm sure we all know most of these channels, but Angry Prepper, why don't you go first? Tell us a bit about your channel.
It's a prepping channel, I guess. I don't know. I mean, years ago when I started, it was all about prepping. Then obviously you adapt a little bit, you run out of things to talk about, and then topics start happening. So when I started prepping YouTube, the YouTube channel, there wasn't all this craziness going on. So there wasn't much to talk about other than just preparing for whatever might happen. Now we got all these things going on, and as of recently, rather as of today, I'm going to go back to my rants, but talk more about prepping, because I think, for example, what happened in Florida, you got to be ready for it, and that's the basis of, I think, a lot of our channels, is so that we're all ready for whatever it is.
Absolutely. Bush Doctor, how about you?
I actually have been lurking for many years, and actually decided to start my channel based on something that Jason was going through with another friend of ours, North Shore Preparedness. I just wanted to start a channel and start to speak out on a certain issue that was going on in the community at the time. And now I just want to spread awareness about preparedness and try to be more of a cohesive element in the already existing community. Because, I mean, as tight knit bunch as we all are, I think sometimes we get into some infighting, and that's what my channel's about.
All right, how about TSP?
So initially I started making Second Amendment and firearm related content, and then branched out into the preparedness arena a little later on. So I get a little mix of everything and some current event type stuff as well.
Great. Our Tent Life.
Hey, so my channel was mainly about my adventures living in a tent 100 days a year up in northern Michigan, with adding some preparedness and whatnot. But literally yesterday, my channel got hacked. My other channel got hacked today. So everything is down right now, but I'll get them back up.
Oh.
How did it get hacked?
Okay, so like yesterday it started with the trolls, and then they cloned my channel, and then started commenting on other channels using my name, and then they found my other channel, which is not related to Our Tent Life at all, and I hadn't advertised it, and then they cloned that channel using my name and my background, my banner, and everything, and started making comments on the people that I was subscribed to there on that channel. So I reported it, took everything down so that they couldn't use that anymore.
And that's how they hit your channel?
Yeah. Yeah, same name, same banner, same, they changed the letters to capital letters instead of, like, I use small letters, some
right.
Capitals, some, right. Changed everything to capitals, copied the banner and intro and everything, and then started hitting the people that I was subscribed to with rude comments. And then they found my other channels and cloned that channel too, and then started doing the same thing.
What can I say?
That's crazy.
That's very crazy.
That's happening a lot. It seems like everybody's getting that.
I'd rather just take it all down than be pissed off every day about it. So,
That's a crazy amount of effort that somebody put into that.
Yeah, really? Thank you.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
If they get paid really well to
Exactly.
do that to channels. I've heard a lot of people hacking and they get paid big money to do that, unfortunately, which is sad.
You know, I'm not that important, so whatever.
Obviously you are, because otherwise they wouldn't be hacking your channel. They pick mine.
I mean, I had that happen to me, but I dealt with it fast. Guy was leaving. They were like, "Hey, Angry Pepper, what's going on?" You know, like people who subscribers, and then they were like, "Oh, thank you for reaching out to me. If you could please donate money X, Y, and Z." And you know, people hit me up on my email and stuff, and I got to it quick before I guess they did that. But that sounds totally different, cloning your shit, and then you know. So you took the channel down, or did YouTube take it down?
I took it down. I was literally seeing the clone channels comment on my non-clone channel. You know what I mean? They were cloning the channel and then commenting on my videos with my other channel. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't comment on my own videos
Right.
with this other channel. What is going on? And then I noticed the changes in the text.
Oh, okay.
That was wild.
That's just terrible.
Yeah, that sucks.
So, Michelle, tell us a bit about your channel.
No, I'm kidding. It's Alaska Prepper. It's Rudy, Alaska Prepper's fault. That's why I say if anybody doesn't like my channel, then tough, blame it on him, because he's the reason I started doing it. I started my channel just because, you know, I've been prepping over 35 years, you know, veteran combat medic, disabled veteran, also a single mom to a differently abled young adult, now young adult. So I've had lots of things I've shared throughout the years on Facebook with all the people, and I wasn't really that familiar with YouTube other than, you know, music and following people that I wanted to, you know, see what was going on. It's more and more popular now, but I share pretty much anything and everything under the sun. I do a lot of different things. I like to save money. That's a big thing right there. I like to talk about all the things I've done wrong in 35 plus years trying to prep, and my background being a combat medic, and I've always been in the medical field pretty much until I couldn't work anymore. Dental field was 31 years. Medical was, if I count the 8 years I took care of my grandmother from 8 years old on. So a long time. And I just hope that people can start to do more for themselves and their families, because crap's getting bad. I know that it's not that great anymore. And my daughter, thankfully, her world is perfect, but you know, me having to make sure that I have everything taken care of for not only myself, but for a differently abled young adult who doesn't understand that the world sucks. That's the hard part for me, but I'll do it 24/7 till I'm dead. So that's me, my channel. I share about I love to save money, prepping, shopping, groceries, bills, get out of debt, keep your money out of the banks, invest what you got extra in all the good stuff. So, and you name it, I can talk about it. So that's me.
Well, thank you very much. And I guess anyone who's here knows a bit about my channel, but basically I used to be a licensed remote paramedic, and I'm currently an exploration geoscientist. I started this type of work in 2001 and worked making remote maps in places like Northern Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand. And then the other half of our channel is a professional helicopter pilot fighting fires, doing utility operations and high altitude rescue at places like Mount Everest, Mount Abadablam. And so we show our current frontline work related to emergency services and natural disasters, and try to explain natural hazards from a preparedness perspective. But of course, with the nature of that work, we can only show a tiny little glimpse. So we include things like our homestead life and just general preparedness things, and just love the community and being part of it in any way we can. We are based at our bug out homestead in northern BC, Canada, off the Alaska Highway. So the next question, which is getting to the meat of the topic, is we're going to talk about the medic stuff. So we'll just continue with the introductions a little bit. Michelle, can you please tell us about your medic background and your path to becoming a medic?
Oh gosh. Okay. 8 years old. I started then. We go back that far. I started taking care of my grandmother when I was 8 years old. I did learn how to take a blood pressure, the old school way instead of those machines they have now in the offices, which are ridiculous. But I took care of my grandmother for 8 years until she passed away when I was 16 years old. But she told me from 8 years old on that I was going to make a great nurse. So I was prepped to pretty much plan to be a nurse at some point in time. So she convinced me. I was 15 years old. I went to a technical school and I got my CNA as a nurse assistant. I had to change out of that pretty quick because I'm not good with working with older people or children, kids, animals, anything like that. I'd rather ball all day than work with them. I can't handle it. I'm just too much of a heart for that. So then I switched to dentistry, which I did that for 31 years. But a year later, after being a nurse, I was a CNA, working in the dentist office, working my ways up. Then I got recruited, of course, for my medical background by the Army. Yay me, wearing green. So I joined at 17 years old, and that was it. 8 years, 1988 to 1996. We were 91 Bravos back then. But I started out as a Alpha, 91 Alpha. I'm just a medic for the Army. But Gulf War started up, and that's when we got a couple weeks of training out of nowhere, and all of a sudden we're like a combat medic. So it's like, there you go. And that was it. And so I did my 8 years with them, and until I could no longer do any of my careers that I've had, I'm still very passionate about helping people as far as whatever I can do. But that's my history of being in a medic field area.
Awesome. How about you, our tent life?
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Okay, so I was started out as a combat medic also in 1988 with the 82nd Airborne Division. I'm airborne. My father was airborne. My grandfather was airborne. So it's a family tradition. Stayed with them to the year 2000. I became a paramedic in 1994. And I was still in the Army and doing the continuing education then. I've been a paramedic ever since. When I got out in 2000, my second back injury ended my military career. Couldn't jump out of planes anymore, so that was the end of that. Then I went into contract security, worked for a local law enforcement agency, and then I was the chief of security for Ford Motor Credit for a number of years. And then I kind of went into the family business a little bit, and then I retired early. I guess I'm kind of semi-retired because I still maintain all my licenses. In fact, I just became a TECC medic earlier this last year, and I'm working on becoming certified through FEMA here over the winter, because just for these types of things like what's going on here in Florida right now.
Hello, Woodsman for Life. It's always nice to see you. Texas Surplus Pro.
So that's a similar story. Prior service was Army infantry. Got injured pretty early in my career, so was cut short. Didn't deploy, but that was my first real exposure to TCCC. And then from there, moved into the private sector and then public sector. So more exposure to triaging and dealing with traumatic injuries. And then I was on with a volunteer fire department for a little while as well. So the bulk of that was mostly medical calls. So current knowledge level, I would say, is about the EMR level, not quite EMT. But that is something I am interested in pursuing at some point.
Very cool. Bush Doctor.
I got started as an EMT down in Florida. Worked a little bit in hospitals and on the rigs, and worked a little bit in mental health, which was very interesting. especially down in Florida. A lot of mental health issues down there. But I definitely got a good background, a good base for joining the Navy. A lot of mental health issues in there as well. I am a corpsman
Everywhere,
in
right?
the Navy. Right. I'm a corpsman in the Navy Reserve. And for those of you who don't know what a corpsman is, everybody here seems to be Army. So corpsman is just the equivalent of a medic. They got corpsmen in Navy hospitals, dental offices. I am a field corpsman with the U.S. Marine Corps. I'm a TCCC instructor. So yeah, that's how I got started in emergency medicine and where I'm at now.
Cool.
Great. Thanks a lot. Jason.
Not nearly as interesting as you people in the prior service.
Oh, come on.
So anyway,
Really?
thank you for your service, every last one of you. I started out because I got bamboozled into being an EMT. So I wanted to be a fireman. In this program they had here in the city, it was for trying to get more minorities on the fire department. So I figured, oh, I'm black, I want to be a fireman. Great fucking program. So I go into the program. We get done with the program. At the last week, they're like, oh, by the way, you guys got to be EMTs to hold your position to be hired. I was like, mother. So everybody,
Nice.
myself, we all panicked. We're like, what the fuck? I don't know anything about the human body. So I'm like, shit, but I really want to be a fireman. So I started watching, believe it or not, and this is going to sound stupid, I started watching ER. And so I'm watching ER every fucking week. Sorry. Every week I'm watching ER, and I'm sitting there, and I go online. I go to Barnes & Nobles. I order flashcards so that I can learn medical terms. And believe it or not, between ER and the flashcards, when I got into the EMS Academy, I was able to pass the majority of those classes because I got the certificate. So anyway, with that,
it was scrubs for me.
That's how they do it in the Navy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What? It's bamboozle
You
you?
watch ER.
Oh.
That's right.
So anyway, after everything was said and done, I think my greatest test as an EMT was 9/11. And after that day, I realized that, for all the training we had, there was nothing that could have been done there. Like really nothing. Everybody's dead or gone. And gone, I mean they walked out. But I guess because I wanted to be a fireman so bad, I put up with being an EMT. I'm gonna tell you right now, you guys are like, combat medics and shit like that. You probably had it a lot better. EMS work in the city is shit work. It's it's you pick up people with toothaches. They stubbed their toe on driftwood 2 days ago. Now they're complaining about the ache. It's like that. But anyway, that was my journey to being an EMT.
There's driftwood.
God, I love it.
Is there a lot of driftwood in New York City?
Yeah, along the Hudson River there. There's also abandoned cars sticking out of the river.
I'm like, where the heck you walking at? Oh my gosh. I've only been in the airport in New York, and I do not want to come there unless I'm just like meeting you in the airport and we're going some other place or something. That's all I want to go to New York for.
Yes.
Listen, I was raised in I grew up in the Detroit area, and the buses in Detroit, the medics used to carry shotguns in the ambulances.
Back in the days.
Yeah.
Right in the 80s. I heard about it. I thought that was a myth. But no shit.
No, back in the days is 80s. Y'all are young.
Yeah.
No, that was true.
Back in the days, 80s, honey, it's the 60s. 60s is old.
I love New York. I've been there and spent some time, and it's great. New York City's lots of fun. I mentioned
shows about New York. That's it.
That works too. Hey, Seabass, good to see you.
Jason
It's
stuff.
Michelle's twin.
So hey, baby.
Worked.
Hey, girl.
I worked out in the bush a lot, kind of like how people would imagine, sort of like a prospector in very remote places. And sometimes I would be injured or someone else would be injured, and I would have to decide, are we going to call a helicopter or not? And I needed to know a bit more. And then so I took some courses, and then I was like, well, I want to be able to do medication. And then I used to do geological guiding on the Grand Canyon on river trips through 188 miles down the Colorado River every year. And so we came across a lot of stuff down there, and you're on your own. So I wanted to learn. So I got my EMALB license in BC, which is what you need to work for the BC Ambulance Service. Then I got my paramedic in industry, and then I took my Canadian Aerospace Medicine and Aeromedical Transport Association air transport course for helicopters and planes, which is pretty much the primary mode of transport for taking people out of everywhere I've worked. I did that in Winnipeg, and then I became, to keep my credits, to be honest, I became a Red Cross instructor of all levels. And then, most of the work was backcountry and camp rescue. I worked 3,600 hours professionally, and now I'm busy with my sort of regular job, and I have duties as a mom as well. So I have put my license on hold, but I have every plan to do more with that later. So I wanted to ask, maybe we can just sort of open it up. Does anyone have any opinions? Do you teach any medical preparedness on your channel? Why or why not?
Not a thing.
Open question? No.
Nope. I don't talk about anything medical stuff on my channel just because it doesn't matter. I mean, you'll just get slapped in the head. It seems like no matter what you talk about anymore, even with prepping stuff, I just make sure that I just keep my opinions kind of open-ended and hope that you don't get smacked in the face by the tube. That's all I can say. How about you guys? I don't know.
Well, I do. I've only put out a couple videos. For example, I did a video on tourniquets, very basic stuff. The benefit of military medicine is that I don't have a professional license to lose, so I will gladly show you whatever you want to know about military medicine. I mean, they can get 18-year-olds in there, fresh out of high school in the military and be like, here's how you do a cricothyroidotomy. So I'm sure
17 years old now.
Right.
Just 17. Right. I was 17 when I joined.
So, and not only that, this channel for me is a fun hobby. I don't really give a damn if YouTube wants to shut me down. If I'm helping somebody out there, and also it's an opportunity for me to learn. If I put some bad information out there, and I get some feedback from people, and they're like, "Hey, you may have been taught this way, but it's been updated. This is what it is now." That's an opportunity for me to learn as well, and anybody who participates in the conversation,
Cool.
Yeah, I don't really go into it beyond just the gear review aspect, or I might do a breakdown video on a few tourniquets that have been put out there. Magic Prepper actually had a good one that he did, just a short within the past couple of days, probably, that showed up in my feed, just on some of the bad tourniquets that are still continuing to make rounds, and that apparently a number of these Chinese-produced cat ripoffs are making their way to Ukraine, and they've been breaking when guys have needed them most. So if you have those, at one point I was even saying, hey, those are at least a decent training aid, but given the fact that they're just snapping under one or two applications, they're not even good for that. So I would just completely pitch those.
Yeah,
I mean, they're meant for a single use. Don't buy your tourniquets from Amazon.
No. Yeah, I mean, consider it one and done, right? Have a training tourniquet and then have your real use, real world ones, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, most of the time a tourniquet isn't removed until it's removed by a surgeon. So, and they don't take it off nicely. They just cut it when they're ready to do a conversion. So you usually never get it back.
I just use my belt. I've had to do that before. So that's why we were in the military anyway, or still to this day.
So with being a Red Cross instructor, you wouldn't be allowed to teach stuff on YouTube. It's like extremely got to be, you know, in a certain format and stuff.
Of
So
course.
I never
too.
talk about anything like that on YouTube. Does anyone else want to add to this topic, or should we move on?
I mean, listen, I
Move
teach
along.
people. I try to talk about a lot of the medical stuff out there. I mean, I've done like Bushra, I've done the tourniquet things. I've talked about certain procedures, at least quick trauma fixes. You know, something to stop a bleed or things like that. I think that's fine. If you know what you're talking about. Obviously, if you don't and you only seen this shit on YouTube 1,000 times and you never experience it, then I don't think you should, you know, voice your opinion. I think everybody here has at some point actually done medical, you know, like something in the emergency world, right? And didn't watch it on YouTube and go, oh, I can do that, right? That's dangerous shit. But if you've been in the field, if you actually done it before, then I think you can pass that word along. But you also have to follow it up with go to an actual class and take the training and just don't look on YouTube. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, I saw it on YouTube, I can do it. I mean, I don't know how many times I took people out in the woods when I used to do bug out bag weekends. And I used to have a couple of people who were like, oh, I saw that on YouTube. I know how to do that. I saw that on YouTube. I know how to do that. I'm like, great. We get out there, start a fire. Couldn't start a fire to save their life, right? Because they watched it on YouTube and they never practiced. Same thing goes for the medical field. Don't just watch it on YouTube. Go to an actual course, learn how to do it.
Absolutely. YouTube could be a great primer. It can
Yes.
help direct you to the right people to get training, but it's not a substitute.
Exactly.
No, I'm a stop the bleed instructor, and there's no way I could
Exactly.
demonstrate in a 15-minute video on YouTube on a proper application of a tourniquet and how to obliterate a distal pulse and doing pressure dressings and things like that. That into a class, there's just no way I could do it. It has to be done in person. You need to take the course.
Yeah.
I'm just looking
Anybody
at
in the military has been. Somebody saying, "Oh yeah, red crayons taste like." Oh gosh, oh my gosh.
What's
It
up,
seems
Joe?
like unless you've actually, if you haven't experienced it firsthand, I mean, no matter how many years, I mean, 8 years in, and no matter how many people you come across, you are never going to know exactly how things are going to go. You'll never know until you're in it. So there's a million different variations of how things are going to go. So, but basically, the only thing I recommend to everybody is make sure, especially if you have a spouse, an animal, a child, or you're taking care of your elderly parents, whoever, know CPR, go to a class, get CPR trained, certified, learn how to, unblock an airway, and basic first aid at least. That's the minimum that every family and every household should know. But it's not promoted, and it's not offered for free. It should be free.
Wait, CPR classes are not free?
No.
Oh,
the only person it's free for is my respite worker for my daughter, who's differently abled. For, the only reason it's free is because I pay for it. I'm the employer of my respite worker for my daughter. So I'm her legal guardian now that she's a legal adult. But it's ridiculous that if it wasn't respite, the fire departments charge, the police departments, any place around here, even if it's a hospital, they do not offer free anything, which is BS in my opinion, because that's the most important thing that every family should have. Even for yourself, you should know how to unblock your own airway. That's the first thing we learned in school. And I was 15 in nursing school. That's the first thing you learn, how to unblock your own airway.
Yeah, well,
and generally stop the bleed is free also.
Right.
It depends on whether or not the instructor has to rent the facility to teach the class, but they limit the class size for us to 10 students at a time. So usually like the fire station or something like that will let us use one of the classrooms.
You know, it's funny. I mean, to stop the bleed conversation, I guess I took it for granted because I worked here in Harlem. We dealt with shootings and stabbings all the time. It came like second nature, and then 15 years down the line, 10 years down the line, people are running stop the bleed courses. And I'm like, what the hell's the big deal? But again, I was raised in this shit as far as an EMT goes. I was raised in this shit, so I took it for granted. Now I look at the courses when they're being taught. It still doesn't dawn on me. It doesn't compute. I guess because I've done it so many times and lived in this bullshit shooting, stabbing neighborhood for so long. But when I went to the one Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival ran, he ran a Stop the Bleed course. I sat there as a customer, if you will, or a patron watching, and I'm like, oh, and then it dawned on me. I'm like, okay, I'm watching everybody's reaction, getting information out of this. I'm like, oh, okay. It took years for me to get it. But it's absolutely a great course. I think everyone, especially if you live in the city, should take a Stop the Bleed course.
I would even echo that anywhere that you live, especially if you're rural or more remote, because there's no one who's right around the corner who has that knowledge. It's just you.
That's true.
So how about we talk about another question I have for you guys, which is, what is a myth that you come across related to medical preparedness? And I'm going to start with a myth that I hear a lot on channels, which is you may as well have all the gear because someone else might come along that knows how to use it. I hear that a lot. Like, you may as well just buy as much of these more advanced items, but you don't need to know how because someone else may know how. I mean, I personally roll with this like everywhere I go. So yeah, maybe I will be somewhere and not have my stuff, but I think it's a lot better to know how to use the equipment you have. So if you're gonna have it, get the training on it.
Okay, I've never heard anybody say that. No shit, that's a thing.
I've heard it, yeah.
Get
Have
gear.
you heard it, Michelle?
Well, okay, it's like the people that get pissed off because Starbucks is closed because there's no power. Okay, that's how it is to me. It's like the people that have no clue whatsoever about the world in general, or reality in general, I should say, kind of. I'm not trying to put anybody down if you guys are like Starbucks fans and that's what you live for. But I mean, if people don't know what's going on, I don't know. Go ahead, take it over, Anger Prepper. Jason, you're on. This drives me nuts when people get all pissed off about stuff like that, man. It's just bugs me.
I'm just a little. That's a big myth. I mean, you could have 8 people show up and they're all staring at the first of all the bag as to what to do with it. Secondly, you'll have the nervous guy. Don't open it. It could be a bomb. This is New York we're talking about. And then even if they get the bag open, they're going to stare in it and go, what do I do with this stuff? Now, bandages and stuff, people will figure out. But other things, again, like tourniquets or I wouldn't even know what chest sealing kits, they wouldn't know what to do with that.
Oh, they wouldn't.
So, that's very strange that people think that way.
I've also surprised. Oh, go ahead.
No, go on, man.
I was just going to say, that doesn't really surprise me, though, that you get some people who are saying that. I mean, I understand that we can't learn literally every facet. It's just not possible. But if you look at even what you were saying a little while ago, Jason, with guys coming out to bug out bag weekends and people buying all this gear and they're thinking, well, I watched a YouTube video, or now that they're out in the bush with you who actually does know how to do this stuff to kind of hold their hand. That's not necessarily a great strategy by any means, because again, like, you're your own first responder. You're the one who's there. If you're going to have these essential tools, you do need to know how to use them. You do need to take classes on how to use these things. And I even see this at the, if you go to the gun range regularly, you're dealing with people all around you who, profess or claim, or you go with a buddy who acts like they're a crack shot and their basic fundamentals just aren't even there. And it looks like a shotgun hitting the paper. And the same, I am not surprised to hear would apply to the medical end of things. So
I think that's a good segue.
I've seen channels push things like where to purchase IV fluids, decompression needles, and cricothyrotomy kits and things like that, just in case somebody in your group or somebody may further, down the road come along. Look, we're talking about, these are surgical procedures, and you could literally kill somebody, by putting a 4-inch needle into somebody's pleural space. It's not something that you want to have. And some places will let you just certify that you're, by checking a box, that you're a medical professional and you're allowed to have these items. And there are state and local laws that say, you know, who can and who can't have those items in their possession.
I think that's a good. Go ahead, Jason.
Sorry, in the comment section, the chat, there's our tent life. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
No, because he's talking. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, holy
Well,
shit.
yeah, I was wondering that too. I just saw he was like, okay, he's talking. Yeah.
Is
You
it?
can see me if
I
I'm
mean,
trying
I'm
to get
not.
on
No,
my phone.
look, I'm not making comments.
You're not making comments in the chat section.
Nope.
You're not?
The-
Our tent life has got a comment on there. National Registry.
Yep, that's not me. That's the hacker.
That's
No
not
shit.
you.
Oh damn.
Okay.
Do you think it's a hacker? Or you think it's someone
Hey,
that hates
hacker
you?
person.
Because I mean, the guy.
I mean, I don't know anybody, so that's the
I was
people.
like, dang, he's good at typing unknowingly, because I'm always like, okay, here's my phone.
Would you be
trying
okay
to
if somebody
put something on
blocked
there.
that?
Man.
You'd be okay with if somebody took that down or blocked it?
Yeah, the mods. There's very good mods on this channel.
All right.
You mods
Um,
rock, by the way. Everybody rocks that
Yeah.
does mods.
That's crazy.
They must.
think
They idolize
Bushwhacker-
you, obviously, our tent life, because if they want to be you, you know. But yay.
Big time.
They're
Yeah.
idiots.
Yeah.
You just simplified it.
Trying to control my language.
Well, me too. I do too. I try. That's why my channels. I don't talk the way that I normally would. If I was on Jason's, yeah, that's why Jason and I do a live. It's going to be like nobody under 13 or whatever can be allowed, because I keep my stuff clean because of my young adults that, you know, she's exposed to enough stuff that I find out after the fact and I get pissed off and I'm on the horn. You know, I've reamed out everybody under the sun over the years that has done anything, or she comes home and like the what is it, arm ticket? Jason, you call it arm ticket, right?
Yeah.
The VC stuff and all that crap, arm tickets. My kid she was VC injured, you know, back in the day when she was a year old, so long time ago. But she come home from school, like, I don't know, she was maybe 14, 13, 14, something like that. This has been a few years ago. She was like rubbing her arm. She's like, "Oh, ow, that hurt." And I was like, "What the hell's wrong with me? What's wrong with your arm?" She's like, "Oh, I got a shot and it hurts." And I was like, I flipped the hell out. I lost my crap before I couldn't even hang out on my freaking phone to call because I was on the horn, telling off everybody under the sun. I was like, "What the heck is my kid talking about?" Because I was like searching her body for a puncture wound anywhere, you know. I was like, somehow they had some presentation from the health department, which I made sure she was excluded from anything to do with them because I trust them like I trust a fart from an old person. Anyhow, but yeah, so I lose my crap when it comes to that because I was like, you know what? You know, she's excluded. I don't want to hear any other opinions other than what we believe in, what we think, what we want to do, what we don't want to do. And I still have to do that every single day right now, which pisses me off. So it really just irks me. So that's the myth that I don't like, is that if you're going to ask me next, by the way, I'll just say it now since I'm blabbing. But if they start talking, you know, anybody, all these commercials, you can't go through a commercial, you know, you can't sit and watch TV and a little bit, you know, watch a cooking show or something, having some dinner without some ad coming on for some new drug that's going to give you more symptoms and some, you know, ED commercial or some other crap that I really don't want to think about because I had my hands in it, all that crap decades ago. You know, it's disgusting.
Hey, Michelle,
I don't want to hear that while I'm eating
Michelle,
dinner, you know?
the most important medical issues of our day are erectile dysfunction and male pattern baldness, okay?
Exactly. And I don't want to hear, well, the other ones are female crap that I used to treat when I worked at Selfridge up here, you know, in Michigan, the Air National Guard base. All I treated was VD up here on my weekends. I was like, are you kidding me right now? I'm like, seriously, I got to work in people's faces all day. And then I got to come out here on the weekend and I'm working on the other end. So it's like, give me the old doctor, he was really funny though. He was a really cool guy. And he would tell it like it is all the time. So, a couple comes in and they both get tested for some stuff and one tests positive, one doesn't. Guess what? The wife wasn't. And so, he just dropped the bomb. He's like, hey, who you been doing besides your wife? And she just flipped out and tore the place up and took off. So, I mean, it's just, disgusting. I don't want to hear this stuff on TV. I don't look that enough. Nope. So anyway, I don't believe in the BC crap because it did nothing but F up my life back in the day and my kids, and still to this day, everybody else's for the most part. Unless everybody loves it, then if you love it, then great. Good for you. Just don't talk about it to me. Thank you. I'm done. Okay. I'm shutting up. Next, please.
What was the topic?
We were talking about myths to do with medical preparedness.
Michelle being pissed off.
So if anyone wants to, I'm happy to talk about, not online, but offline, what the channels are that do it. I actually got into I'm very mellow. I don't engage in certain things, but I did actually get into some comments in some of these channels that were saying to get these really advanced medical pieces that they didn't know how to use. So I did get into that, and I guess that could lead us to the next question is, what is one general recommendation you'd make to someone who doesn't have the background? Because, not everybody, hopefully most people can take a course, a 1-day course or 2-day course. And I know when I've taught Red Cross, it's accessible to everybody, no matter, even if the person has certain physical limitations, they make it work so that most people can take the course. But even if that isn't accessible, a few tips that anyone might have. One of mine is to have the gear unpacked and ready, and a tourniquet's a perfect example. When it's all still in a package and it hasn't been staged, any gear that can be unpacked, obviously not trauma dressings and things like that, but stuff that can be ready to go is something that anybody could do in their kit. Any other ideas?
Well, I mean, go ahead, AP.
What I was going to say is, believe it or not, shears. I know that I've seen it once or twice. Make sure you take the shears out of the plastic wrapping. It's incredibly stupid. It's just stupid to have things like that in there. BP cuff, for example, if you know how to use one, definitely take that out of the wrap as well. BP cuff, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, you need some training with that. And you see people carry it around. I'm like, what are you doing with that? They're like, oh, take blood pressures. You know how to take blood pressures? Not really. Then why the fuck are you carrying it? Like, if you don't know how to use it, it should be out of your medical bag until you know how to use it. But other than that, yeah, I would say even certain bleeding control packages, how they come vacuum sealed, you should definitely have that already open and ready to rock and roll. Obviously, like you said, not the bandages themselves, but you don't want to sit there ripping through a pack
Yes.
using a shear or a knife to cut through it.
Yeah, such a good point.
I was just going to say, I'm not really a big a gear snob, with the exception of very few things. Like, for example, what TSP was talking about a little earlier with tourniquets. That's something you sort of have to be a gear snob about. You want high quality stuff. When it comes to, we're talking about all these medical supplies and everything, I think really most importantly for the layman, it's most important for you to start out with, get some books with some pictures. You know what I mean? Don't worry about like what kind of shears that you can get first, or what kind of flashlight has got the most lumens that you're going to be able to get out there and do shit with or whatever. But get the books with the pictures. You got to learn basic anatomy. Get the reading materials first. There's a good example right there. Before you start buying all this gear, when you learn about the actual application of it, that's going to make you that's going to give you a better make you have a better informed decision on what gear you need to purchase, what gear you want to stock. So if you don't already know what you're getting into, don't go out and buy just whatever. read into it first. That's my piece.
Mm-hmm.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you faint at the sight of blood, you're probably not going to be the medic in your mag. So you may want to have somebody else do the training. And as far as like pre-packaged medical gears like IFAC and things like that, there are some reputable companies that make good kits. We know who they are, but sometimes they skimp on some of the other items, like the shears themselves, the scissors themselves. A lot of the cheap scissors are single use. You may not be able to cut through a pair of jeans with them, so you may want to spend like $15 and $20, get a good pair of shears. Add that to the kit. Like Bush Doctor was saying, you don't need a 1,000 lumen flashlight. I buy the disposable pen lights by the case. I think there's 15 to a box, and they're like $2.50 a piece, and they're throwaways. You might use them 10, 15 times to check somebody's pupils or something like that, and that's about all you need it for. And Texas mentioned the EMR class. That's just below EMT class. I think it's like 55 or 60 hours, and it's available through Red Cross also. So if you're interested in maybe going up the next level from taking Stop the Bleed or something like that, go to Red Cross and check out their EMR program.
This is some great information. Anyone else want to add?
Okay.
I'm done talking. I'm good.
All good. Okay, so we are going to keep this in our times of about an hour. So we're wrapping up here soon. But I do want to ask: does anyone have any requests for a piece of gear or a few pieces of first aid medical gear that everyone should have, even without advanced training? Now, of course, the list is really long, but just a few ideas to get the
Yes.
the thoughts going. So I'll start. I've got lots of big ABD pads, big trauma dressings here in all sorts of sizes, little ones, but having some really big ones is handy. I like having little saline eye wash stations around, can be good. And things like, this is not a product plug, but the J's case or some kind of antibiotics that is under the supervision of a doctor. You don't just take them because you think you need them. Like, it has to be alongside of actual care, but just in case you can't get somewhere. Benadryl can be good to have around. And then if there's anyone listening who has extra funds and they want to, and they're trained on it, you can have your own AED. This is not sponsored or anything. I have an AED that I've taken on my Grand Canyon river trips. But it's nice to have that as long as you get it serviced and have one with a good long life battery. Any other suggestions?
Not sponsored by an AED manufacturer yet.
Yeah. Good
Don't
one.
need to do that.
Right.
Yeah, but how much they cost, I need to get sponsored by them.
Yeah.
That's when the big bucks start rolling in.
Something that Bear mentioned on his channel the other day that would be, I think, invaluable because it's pretty self-explanatory, but a dechoker would be super valuable to have, especially if you have kids.
There's another brand as well. I use dechoker at my house. Well, I haven't used it yet, thank God. But we have dechokers at my house. There's another brand called LifeVac. So multiple brands out there besides the dechoker if you want to investigate those for yourselves.
What is that?
It's a suction
anti-choking
device to clear airway out, which you got to know how to do your own airway. That's one thing, I think.
Also, it's
sure.
a
Yes.
device.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like a suction cup thing that will help hopefully it works. Anyway, I don't know if you haven't used it yet. I guess you'll find out. Hopefully it
Oh
works.
shit! I never heard of that.
I got a tip for gear as well. You're gonna get multiple bags. Get the same damn bag for wherever you're doing. If you got a bag in your car and you got a bag that goes with your go bag and you got a bag in your bug out location, get the same damn bag. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, I got, this bag, my tourniquets are on the left side, but I got to remember that in this bag over here, I got my tourniquets on the right side. I got my, if you need a life-saving intervention, like in a matter of seconds or minutes, like you need to know exactly where it is. If you same bags for all of your different kits and you stock them all the same way, it's going to be that much easier for you. It's going to be, so much easier for you to save a life or possibly your own if you know where the stuff is.
No, Bush Doctor, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I did a video about this once about like if you're talking about like a mag also, everybody try to carry the same IFAC, the exact same contents, and wear it in the exact same location, because the last thing you want to do is be searching your buddy's body because you don't know where his IFAC is. Right? Johnny's got a tourniquet in his back pocket, and this guy's got one on a drop leg. This guy's got one on the back of his chest. That's why when we're wearing a uniform in the military, we all wear it in the same place, right? And it has the exact same contents. And there's a reason why we do that, because in a high stress and dangerous situation, you know exactly where it is, even if it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, the gear standardization is huge. And I made a video a little while ago kind of hitting on this too. If everybody is squared away and all wearing the same stuff and you're projecting that level of strength, I mean, a little off topic, but anyone who's a trained observer and is watching that and just picks up on those little cues is going to know that your group was very well prepared before something happened. So they're probably going to be less likely to mess with you.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So we are going to wrap up in a second here. Can we just talk quickly about some resources or channels that are good for learning about this topic? Prep Medic is a really great YouTube channel. I like that one. This book that I already showed, I mean, pretty much most channels talk about this book. Canadian Prepper talks about it all the time. This is a good one to have. There's also those books, when the dentist isn't coming, when the doctor isn't coming.Ose are good books too. Any other suggestions?
Skinny Medic, I mean, back in his earlier days, he was really, I haven't watched a lot of his videos lately, but I know back in the earlier days, he was spot on with a lot of the stuff that he went over. And he always followed it up with, make sure you take an actual training course, just not watch me on TV. So he's another good channel to entertain.
And
I
make
agree
sure
both.
to,
Prep Medic and Skinny Medic, both excellent channels.
I never heard of Prep Medic. I got to take a look at them.
And the writers of that manual you just had there, Vance City, they also have a YouTube channel as well. I think it might be Doom and Bloom, might be the channel for them.
Doom and Bloom. Okay, I got to check all of that out.
Yeah, it's Dr. Alton and Nurse Amy, and they're married. I think they might be based in Florida, or they were at one point. And they also run preparedness trade shows, a suturing class that's very eye-opening if you've never performed that procedure, and it's something that you have to constantly keep refreshing, or you will not remember how to do it under stress.
What's this?
No, suturing's hard as hell. And I'm so glad staplers have come along. Maybe that's an item you don't have, because a piece of glass will open you right up.
Yep.
So if you have a stapler, that's probably something you should. If you don't, it might be something you might want to look into again.
Well, I have staplers, but I'm old school. I love suturing. And that's one thing I recommend that you would have, even if you have no training with it, because if you sew anything at home, you kind of can get a gist of it. If it's you and, say, your spouse, and you're the only two people around, you're going to figure out how to, do a little bit of nipping and tucking there. That's all I'm going to say about that, is that, sewing is about the easiest thing that most people have used daily, weekly, monthly, whatever. I'm not a sewer, but anyhow, I've sutured myself up, numerous times, because there's no way I'm going to go wait 8 hours in an ER room with the my Sharona, whatever crap going on, when I got a, cut finger, and I just do it myself. They're also, all the emergency type that you can just stick them on either side and you just zip them up. Those are available as well. So those are my things that I recommend, but I'm a suture girl. I love sutures.
Well, definitely if you have a medic medic background, but if you're
Yeah.
not, don't
If
do
not,
that
no.
because you're gonna get an infection, and I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
to a
anybody's
specialist.
going to get that.
Yeah,
This
Yeah.
practice,
that.
this practice device is
Yeah,
called
thing right
Suture
there.
Buddy.
Yep.
Called Suture Buddy. It's what med students use.
12-year-olds use those.
Made of latex, and
Yep.
they practice suturing and stapling on these.
No shit.
I've watched kids younger than 12 practice on those from those kits. They're 12.
Yeah.
And they can learn how to do that themselves. So that's something I recommend families would consider for themselves. But you know, that's up to the parents and whatever their decisions are for teaching their children how to do things.
These
Next.
are great ideas, and we are going to wrap up here. I just wanted to just mention all these folks here are not only great channels that talk about all these different topics, but also have this background that they can really bring to the table in their videos and content. So I know that the amazing mods have dropped links to all these channels. And if you haven't seen a particular link, please go to the description box because the links are in there as well. And join up with these channels, check out their amazing content, watch some videos, and we are going to wrap up, but any final words out there? Just make sure you guys practice your techniques for the muscle memory so that when things actually happen, it's easier to perform your duties. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, go find some classes because that'll help in your knowledge, your practical hands-on experience, which is invaluable, and then it'll also open some doors to maybe meet some other preparedness-minded people who will be your biggest resource. So
Yeah.
All right.
Find a Stop the Bleed class in your area. If you have teenagers, get them trained also. See if you can bring it into their schools too, because we all know what's going on in the schools nowadays.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for being here, everyone, and
Thanks for
all
hosting.
the folks in
Yep,
chat
thanks for having
and
us.
the amazing mods and everyone else. I know how valuable time is. Thank you so much. And with that,